After putting on what was probably the best event that they've done since they've been going to Saudi Arabia, the superstars of the WWE ran into some major issues as they tried to return home. Stick around as we break down what happened after Crown Jewel and the WWE Superstars trying to make their way home.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another edition of VGR Locked Down. I'm your host, Double A Ron, along with my main man, Steven. And I'd like to say, WWE, you do such a good job. You know, I used to think Vince Russo was crazy when he said that Vince McMahon was in cahoots with AEW. But you know what, Steven? I got to admit, I really am starting to believe this, man. Because maybe Jim Cornette got Vince Russo all wrong. Because he really might be a genius. First, it was this whole debacle with Fiend. Kofi Kingston gets beaten 7 seconds. Then it's like all this other junk that happens. And now we have this whole Saudi Arabia thing. Is Vince McMahon like trying to make AEW better? What's going on, Steve?
I have no clue what in the world you're talking about right now. I think you must be. Are you the orchestrator of all of the rumors from Saudi Arabia this past weekend? So you know what? Let me just rewind back. So last Thursday, you had Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. That following Friday, the Superstars decided that, you know what? We've been here. Show's over. We need to get home. We got Smackdown. We need to get back. Well, they get on the plane. Plane's not taking off. Then after several hours, they are told they need to get off the plane, and they're taken to hotels. Well, rumor has it that allegedly Saudi Arabia decided that they were going to kidnap the WWE Superstars, and so the rumor is during Crown Jewel, due to the fact that Saudi Arabia owed the WWE like $250 million from their previous events in Saudi Arabia, that Vince McMahon told them to cut the feed to Saudi Arabia, only cutting it back on after they got paid. So this is allegedly what happened during Crown Jewel. And then in retaliation to Vince McMahon for them cutting the feed, essentially holding them hostage for paying the debt that they rightfully owned the WWE. But when the Superstars decided to leave, Vince McMahon hopped on the plane.
Yeah, I'm about to say, where was Vince McMahon doing all of this?
And got out of there. And allegedly, his plane left like 2 hours before the Superstars were ever even able to board a plane. So, he got back in time.
Did he come back or anything?
He didn't know. He was in the air.
Oh, he's in the air. Yeah, he didn't know. Had no idea.
So, the story is, once the prince knew that Vince McMahon was gone, he ordered the Superstars to be detained. And pretty much they were stuck there almost the entire day. The only people that got out of there, Brock. As much as people hate on Brock for his deal with the WWE, he's probably the smartest man in the business because his deal says that he gets his own private plane. So he got out of Dodge. He was already gone long before everything.
They weren't going to stop Brock anyway.
He probably was gone before Crown Jewel, before the credits rolled. But so that's the speculation. And, you got a lot of the superstars that are rightfully pissed off because they thought that they got caught in the middle of something that had really nothing to do with them, and it was between Vince McMahon and the Prince of Saudi Arabia. And it's all rumors. WWE came out and backed what the Superstars were told, and there were allegedly multiple mechanical issues that led to the delay of the flight. And I mean, Natalya said it because she released the tweets out today, just giving her little recap of what happened. And it's like, if there's mechanical issues, I'd rather know that there are mechanical issues while we're still on the ground versus finding out that we're missing an engine when we're up in the air. But that is the rumor, and a lot of superstars are mad at Vince. And allegedly before Raw last night, they kind of had a powwow. Vince McMahon told them, "Hey, listen, it was mechanical issues." I mean, they did come out and say that they've extended the deal with Saudi Arabia, so if they can find some superstars to go, there'll be some more events. I don't know if the superstars are going to be like, listen, we need our own private plane like Brock or whatever. But that's the whole thing surrounding Crown Jewels. But getting more into the fallout of Crown Jewel, I mean, sadly, and it might sound mean or rude to say this, but maybe they need to get detained more often, because that was the best SmackDown that I've seen in a while. And if you didn't catch, did you watch SmackDown?
I watched the review of it. I watched the flashbacks. I didn't watch it live. I had to work. I was out of town. But from what I'm hearing and from what I've seen, it looks pretty good. That whole NXT invasion thing I've heard has been going over really well.
Really, it was. I thought it was really well done. They kicked the show off with, which I think everybody probably should have seen it happening, which is Brock Lesnar quitting Friday Night SmackDown, saying that he's going to go to Raw to hunt down Rey Mysterio, and ain't a damn thing that anybody can do about the roster change. But then it was you had Nikki Cross versus Bayley for the Women's Championship. Pretty good match. That ended after Bayley won, of course, with NXT's Women's Champion Shayna Baszler coming out, taking out Sasha Banks, Nikki Cross, and Bayley.
I love Bayley's new character, by the way. She's been killing it.
Then you had The Miz, who was supposed to be interviewing the new WWE champion, The Fiend Bray Wyatt, on Miz TV. But of course, Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns were some of the people. There were 12 superstars that got on a chartered flight to try to get back in time for SmackDown, but it was too late. So Miz TV happened with just The Miz. Out comes my guy, Tommaso Ciampa. And then you end up with Tommaso Ciampa versus The Miz. Tommaso Ciampa coming out on top.
The hell happened to what? Hold on, let me stop you right there. WWE what the hell happened to The Miz? Like, are they giving up on him? He not gonna be a main eventer no more?
How's that giving up on The Miz? I mean, Tommaso Ciampa is just that good. He's the world's greatest, best.
He's feuding right now with an enhancement talent. Number one, number two.
He's
feuding with an enhancement talent. Sin Cara is an enhancement talent.
I didn't say Andrade.
Who did you say?
I said Tommaso Ciampa.
Oh, my fault. My apologies.
Wrong show, man. Wrong show. You know what? See,
my bad. I still feel like he's taking a step back.
He's tired.
I am. Long day, him. But yeah, my bad. Go ahead, keep going.
Then in the main event, you had Adam Cole, baby, versus Daniel Bryan, with Adam Cole getting the 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, defeating former WWE champion Daniel Bryan with NXT standing tall. It was actually a great SmackDown from top to bottom, and probably even between SmackDown and last night's Monday Night Raw, it was definitely the better of the two shows. But overall, I mean, it was a hell of a week for the WWE as far as the quality of their shows. I mean, Crown Jewel was probably the best.
Crown Jewel by far.
Best show they've done in Saudi Arabia, maybe in general.
History. Not maybe. Last time we got to see Goldberg fight The Undertaker. So this isn't no like, oh my God, there's a close second. This is by far the best one, and it's carrying over storylines, which none of them did.
Well, I mean, you know, what's been crazy about it is their best writing was done in a crunch, because allegedly the whole thing of Brock Lesnar quitting SmackDown to go to Raw and hunt down Rey Mysterio was supposed to be reserved for WWE Backstage on Fox Sports. And then the whole NXT invasion thing, I don't think initially it was probably going to happen, but not this soon.
They needed the extra bodies.
Yeah, they flew in that same on Friday. They flew in the NXT Superstars from Florida to New York. And you know, crazy story about that too. They barely made it. Like, I mean, like
the flight go.
The flight that they were on, allegedly arrived in New York at 7:52, and they had to get off the plane, out of the airport. Somehow they were able to arrange a police escort, and literally, Shayna Baszler got to the arena like moments before she ran out there and attacked Sasha Banks.
Yeah, well, that's why I feel like Vince McMahon should just go right ahead and cut bait. I know he's afraid of AEW, but I think they have too much talent. I mean,
I don't think they got too much talent. They got 3 shows. 4 if you include 205 Live. 5 if you include main
like
event.
I said, it's all this stuff that they have to try to write down, and all these superstars they got to try to maintain. And that's why I think NXT is so much better. It's like less is more. They don't have as many superstars.
Have you seen the NXT roster?
It's as big as SmackDown and Raw.
NXT's roster is bigger than AEW's roster.
AEW is something different. We're not talking about AEW.
But I'm talking about
Raw and SmackDown.
That's just how big NXT's roster is.
I'm just saying it's nowhere near as big as Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, you know what? See, we're gonna have to go to the.
And if it is, there's some people that don't make the show every week.
I mean, that's actually what makes NXT special is the fact that they're not throwing everybody on the show every week. It allows them to mix things up. What sucks is, it ensures that no one is overexposed. And the people that, the fans care about the most, you see them more often. So, you see the Undisputed Era. You see Tommaso Ciampa. I mean, Finn Balor's not at every NXT taping. So it kind of keeps things fresh. You get a nice little rotation out of it the way they do it. And it works. It works really well. That's why, if you think about it, AEW uses the exact same format where you get some of their big stars and then they kind of mix up the undercard. I mean, before he got hurt, that's why you didn't see Luchasaurus all the time. He just, he didn't quite make
that just didn't make sense to me personally, because I feel like that he should have been on the first show.
But I want to say NXT got a good.
That's decent, but I feel like it's not as big
30,
as the
40
roster.
people, which is, I personally think it's great. I mean,
well, I'm not knocking it, but what I'm telling you is I feel like that's why their writing is more direct. Like, even during the Attitude Era, like, I feel like, it wasn't as many superstars.
Oh, it was a whole bunch of superstars.
Not as much as it is now on these shows.
I mean, the way they did it back in the day, though, is that they focused on their top guys. Everybody got their spot. And then, they kind of, they mixed in some of their mid-card stuff, and they kept it moving.
Well, let's just go back to the topic at hand. Saudi Arabia, Seth Rollins apparently was back there doing a pep talk to everybody and telling them to stay off social media. So I really, truly believe that people are really pissed off, and it's something deeper than a mechanical issue. That's how I feel.
People are going to be pissed off. I mean, but nobody knows the true story.
I can't wait. Someone's going to leave company and tell us.
There's no one that really knows the truth. I mean, the only people that really probably know the truth would, and I barely want to say Vince McMahon, because his plane was in the air when the superstars got detained. But it's one of those situations where, the people at the airport said mechanical issues. All of the superstars said that they were told that it was mechanical issues, not a whole money thing. And even the whole Vince McMahon telling the production crew to cut the feed off in Saudi Arabia until they got paid. No one actually really has come out and said, yeah, Vince McMahon had the feed cut. So there's really no proof, no evidence. It's all speculation. And I mean,
I'm speculating my ass off right now, telling you that it was deeper than a mechanical issue.
And here's the thing, while it's being said that it was a mechanical issue, if it was more than that, why would the WWE expand the contract that they have with Saudi Arabia?
Because Saudi Arabia dropped that $60 million, and Vince McMahon is all about the paycheck more so than his superstars, and he's always been like that. So I know for a fact that he would accept it, even if they did kidnap his guys.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I honestly,
you're talking about a guy whose person died on the show and fell from a roof after something he ordered him to do, dragged his ass to the back, and kept the show going. He is a businessman, and he really doesn't give a damn about how it affects anybody that works for him.
See, we're not going to go into the dark days of Owen Hart. It wasn't on the spot. He passed in the hospital. They didn't find out that he passed
Everybody knew he was dead.
until
He was
the show.
blue.
But I mean, look, if you kind of want to go there, I mean, in all sports, boxing, basketball, football, somebody gets hurt. Guess what? They cart them off and they keep it moving. Unfortunately, with Owen Hart, that was kind of grim. But even the boxer, I don't know what his name was, but he got knocked out in the ring, ended up in a coma. Boxing event still continued on.
He didn't die right there on the spot, like you said. But I'm just saying that as an example of just Vince McMahon does not care. I mean, look at some of his interviews that he has said, where we talked about people dying before 40 and they worked for you, and he said, "Oh," and slapped the guy's paper out of his hand. He like I said, he's a businessman, and his thing is either accept it or get the hell out. But the issue with that advice is people are trying to leave, and he's locking them into contracts.
I mean, that's the whole purpose of a contract, is to lock you in.
Yeah, well, like I said, if he feel he used to think about how he used to be, how arrogant he was, and it's crazy how much humbler he is now that there's some sliverlence, some little bit of competition. The slightest bit of competition, and all of a sudden you can't let anybody out there.
I mean, that's that's smart business. I mean, he saw what happened the last time that he allowed people to go. So, I mean, if he was letting people go, you'd be sitting here right now saying, man, he's an idiot for
I wouldn't say that.
Yes, you would.
I didn't say that when he let Christian and Kurt Angle and Chris Jericho walk. I did not say that because they couldn't compete with them. I mean, I really didn't feel like TNA can compete with WWE.
And they didn't.
Okay, so you mean to tell me if he lets Luke Harper go, oh my God, game over?
There's a big difference between TNA and AEW. And you know what that is?
What's that?
TNA, while both companies were running on somebody else's money, TNA was being ran by Jeff Jarrett and his dad at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they were willing to take risks, and then they sold to the Dixie Carter's family,
mm-hmm.
that was expecting a bigger return on their money. Now you're dealing with Tony Khan. He's a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
A billionaire. To him, this is AEW was donating to charity. And he understands up front that AEW is not going to be profitable out the gate. He understands that, which gives them time. And the fact that they're backed by somebody that got more money than Vince McMahon himself and that's willing to take that L, you kind of got to keep them in check, and you don't want to give them too much. Because you can turn they can turn lemon into lemonade. They can turn a coal into diamond.
They could, but here's the thing: if you just focus on your product and improving your product, you wouldn't have to worry about it. That's just the truth.
Not at all. Not at all. Because and we had this debate where we argued which show was better, AEW or NXT, and I still say NXT got the best writing over AEW.
No one complains about NXT. No one wants to quit watching wrestling after looking at NXT stuff, but they do say that about the main roster. And it's like we should. This is a developmental. This is a developmental.
It is not
company.
It is the third brand. They got top billing.
This was a developmental company. And the developmental, I remember OVW, right? And I remember guys like John Cena and Wade Barrett and Randy Orton and Batista and Ted and it's so Rene Dupree and all these guys like that. And I remember saying like, man, I can't wait for these guys to come to the main roster. It's gonna be so great. CM Punk, I can't wait for him to debut in the main roster. We look at NXT now and see their top guys, and you groan. You say, oh, man, I hope they can stay there as long as they can. I don't want Velveteen Dream. I'm so afraid for Adam Cole because, number one, he looks like a midget on TV, and I really am so afraid of what Vince McMahon has in mind for Adam Cole.
Are you throwing your hat in with Superstar Billy Graham?
Saying I have to, like I said, I don't agree with Superstar Billy Graham about much, but he is right. I don't, like... I understand being smaller. AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels are smaller. He looks like a baby.
I mean, they grow.
How old is he?
They grow. I think he's in his early 30s. But think about how small Seth Rollins used to look. There's something about when you get on that main roster and start making that main roster money, you start beefing up a little bit.
I don't remember him looking that small.
He
looked like a threat. They look like threats. He was closer to Roman Reigns size than he was to Adam Cole.
He wasn't. Height-wise, yeah, but when Seth Rollins first debuted, he was significantly skinnier.
He was skinnier.
They hid it under baggy khaki pants.
I never looked at Seth Rollins. I never looked at Seth Rollins and say he's a baby and some average Joe in the bar can knock his ass out. I never looked at him at that.
Seth Rollins had the beard. That's why it was the go-to.
Okay, Adam Cole's looked like if I seen him in the street, I could toss his little ass across the bar.
I mean, I don't dispute it yet because they are kind of small, but
and he's the small one of the group. And the group is like it's not even a big guy in the group. Like it's like
Kyle O'Reilly is the small guy in the group. He look like a big kid.
Okay, the big guy in the group is smaller than you, Steven, and you're like 5'10". You would be like the big guy. You'd be the big man.
I'm the average height.
Oh, exactly. But that's a problem, Steven. If you're the big man in the group and the tallest one in the group, that's something to worry about.
Not really, because I mean they're not a group that's set up to be they don't have a powerhouse. They are technically skilled, technically sound. But you know what? Hey, we're so off topic, man. But that's all the time we got for today. Thanks for joining us for another edition of VGR Lockdown. If anything else comes out about this the lockdown in Saudi Arabia, we'll definitely keep you guys posted. Leave your comments at the bottom. Catch you guys next time.
You remember that thing on American Dad? Like, here in Saudi Arabia, bop! And he shot him and said, "Don't sing it." Yeah, that was